everybody, how's it going? It's Jamie, the crafty DIY guy. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing 6 easy DIY projects for you today that are all from Dollar Tree. Some of them incorporate some really strange things like some toys and some things that you would not expect. And I'm super excited about all of these. If you are brand new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Jamie. I'm the crafty DIY guy. If you are one of my long-term subscribers or one of my subscribers, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here and looking forward to showing you more great DIY projects. I'm trying to slow down a little on the shopping hauls because I've got too much stuff. And I'm going to start doing some more DIY videos and more crafting projects for you. Still going to be shopping. Gotta shop, but it's not going to be quite as much as some of the previous months because again, I got a lot of stuff. But let's get into those DIY projects, and I hope that you enjoy them. All right, everyone, and for project number 1, we are going to be using 2 of these Dollar Tree house frames and 1 of these plastic garden gates that you can pick up at your local Dollar Tree store. Now, for the frames themselves, we're actually not going to use kind of the guts of the frame. We're only actually using the house part of the frame itself. So go ahead and remove the glass, remove everything, and then remove these little black tabs. They will come off with a pair of pliers very easily. And then the center of that garden arch is really what we're going after here. So I am going to start trimming this down. When I was doing it originally for the first time here, I wasn't exactly sure if I'd be able to use any of that or not, but I ended up finally just really cutting this down to only the arched pieces within the center of that piece. So hopefully that makes sense. Here you can see me trying to cut it down very close and very thin just to figure out if that was going to fit or not. Obviously it's not. So again, just keep trimming it down. You're going to basically trim it down until it fits evenly within the arch itself. And as you can see here, I'm going super close now. And this is actually about where you need to be. Now for the antiquing wax, I am putting antiquing wax on the frames. I did not sand these frames down. So this antiquing wax is actually not going to adhere to the frames very well, but that's kind of what I was going for. I just wanted a lighter dusting of the antiquing wax, if that makes sense. I didn't want this to be dark wood. I just kind of wanted it to be a little bit darker than that kind of bleached wood that these frames are made out of. They do have like a gloss or something on them, so if you don't sand them down, your antiquing wax is not going to stick, kind of like this did, but it did darken it just a little bit, and that's exactly what I was going for. So I was actually super happy with this. Now for that garden arch, all I'm going to do is just add some hot glue in the track that's on the back of that frame. And as you will see here, they fit down perfectly within there. You're going to get 2 of these or 3 or 4 or however many you want and literally just glue them into place. When they're done, you've got something that looks like this. And when they're on the wall, this is how they look. Now, I'm not going straight on with this photograph because my kitchen is very dirty, and you will see inside of my messy kitchen if I even up this frame. So hopefully you still get the idea and you see, and I love the way they look even next to my clock in the dining room. So on to project number 2. And for project number 2, we are going to take 2 of these child magnifying glasses that you can get in the toy section at Dollar Tree, and also 2 of these wood shop kits. This is the bird feeder kit. You definitely want to get that one. For the magnifying glasses, we're actually going to chop these down. We're going to chop down this handle to get a flat surface. Now there was a screw there that's just below the saw that I'm using, and I am going to go right there because it's a good middle spot and it's marked on both of them, so it's actually an easy marker for when you're making your cut. I am just using a plumber's saw here, and it goes right through plastic really nicely. Now, for the magnifying glass pieces that you've got left over, go ahead and just sand those down, get rid of any rough edges. You could actually use a sandpaper, or you could use your plug-in sander if you wanted to. I actually can't find my mouse sander, so I don't know what happened to it. Now, for the glass itself, I cannot find my magnifying glass, or the magnifying glass is there. I can't find my masking tape, so I'm going to be using the duct tape. The painter's tape would have obviously been a lot better for this, but the good thing about this duct tape, I guess, because it's the Dollar Tree duct tape, it doesn't really stick super well. So go ahead and cover both sides of your glass and set those aside because you're going to start working. Now, remember this little kit that I told you about. You're going to have 2 of these because you want this piece right here. Each one of those kits has 1 of these pieces in it, and you want 2 of those. So that's why I bought 2 of those bird feeder sets. Now, for this, you could also use Jenga blocks if that's what you had in place, and either one would work. These are 2 of those wood planks from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. They have a square one, and then they have kind of the longer rectangle ones. These are 2 of those that you're going to be using also for this project. Now, in addition to those wooden pieces, you're also going to need a couple Jenga block pieces. I'm just going to grab 2 in the brown color. They can be any color you want because we're going to end up painting all of this anyway. And then the last thing you're going to need are 2 of these round candle mirrors. We are going to be making kind of a sconce that is reminiscent of an antique like magnifying glass light. So for these pieces here, you're going to take your wood rectangle, and then you're going to take one of your I'll call them pillar pieces. And then you're going to take one of your Jenga blocks and you're going to kind of create a base or a stand for your magnifying glass. So I'm actually taking some wood glue. I always use a paintbrush and just put on my wood glue. This is the Gorilla wood glue. And I am gluing those 2 pieces together. And then I am going to glue those to the base of the what's going to be the sconce. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of hot glue just to help hold that immediately. And when I put that down, I'm going to center it, but also I'm going to hold it extremely firm to make sure that that hot glue does spread out some. The hot glue I'm using is actually for wood. It's by Surebonder, but you want to make sure that, it doesn't harden like some hot glues will, and make sure that you have a good, flat, even contact. And then for that hot glue also, I did not mix it with the Gorilla glue, if that makes sense. So you'll have 2 pieces that look like this. And now I'm just going to go around the edges of that and just add some extra hot glue just to make sure that everything is nice and sturdy. It will also help keep it, firm and everything, especially when we go outside to paint everything. Now, for the actual magnifying glass itself, we are going to stand the magnifying glass up on the end of this. And this is a little tricky. When you are doing your magnifying glass cuts, you have to make sure that those cuts are nice and even and smooth. And that's where your sandpaper comes into play. So when you are cutting these, make sure that you're cutting them nice and straight and get them as flat as possible because you need that flat surface for your magnifying glass to stand up on. You can even see that mine is a little bit wobbly here, and I do end up going back through and trimming it up a little bit because it's just not sticking right. And then once it finally does stick, I hold it in place until it is firmly set. You can see the one in the background there, and that one is drying because I've got it face down. Now that you've got everything set up properly, you're going to take 2 more Jenga blocks. I decided to add these last minute, and I'm going to glue those behind the magnifying glass, kind of midway, standing up straight. And you will see why we're doing that in just a second. Again, doesn't matter on the color. I had a brown one ready to go, and then I think I ended up getting drunk and zooming in really weird there. Sorry about that. And I added another piece here. Now it's time to take everything outside. So once I took everything outside, I'm going to spray paint it with my flat matte black Rust-Oleum spray paint. This is one of my favorite spray paints to use. I also like that matte finish because I think it gives everything I spray paint with it that very modern metal look. So for these, it did take a couple coats because there's some awkward angles and you want to get the fronts and the sides and the backs. So just be patient with it. I'm doing a couple different coats here, kind of sped up with the camera footage and everything. And again, waiting in between, letting some dry and then going back and then kind of filling in those cracks and crevices, flipping it upside down, flipping it backwards every which way. And then when you're done, you'll have something that looks like this. Now, we're going to take those round mirrors. We're going to chip off those little tabs that are on the back of there. And then we're just going to glue our mirror down to our wood backing, kind of like so. And I'm going to make sure that I leave just a little bit of room at the top just so I know where the proper placement is for the next one. I could measure this out if I wanted to, but I'm just going to eyeball it. You can kind of see it's pretty easy to center it up and just to kind of figure out what you're doing. And then for hanging these, I'm actually just going to use some command strips. And this is what they look like when they are all done hanging up on the fireplace. I love the way that these look. And when you light these, the magnification of that light is incredible. Now, you're probably asking, how did you light these? What did you do? I took that middle pair of Jenga blocks that I put in there, and I just glued a tea light to this. Now, I do not recommend you glue a tea light to this. I'm actually out of my battery operated tea light, so I am just going to be using the flame ones for the purpose of the demonstration. You can definitely use the battery operated ones. All I had were like the Christmas ones that have like 5 or 6 different colors to them. Again, put a battery operated candle in here and you will get a very similar effect. I think this is so cool. It's reminiscent of like an old magnifying glass candle sconce, and I'm absolutely in love with them. All right, my next DIY is using one of these Dollar Tree bingo games. I have been wanting to use this bingo game for something, and I have had it for a while. I've been thinking and trying to figure out what to do with it. And finally, I grabbed one. And then, of course, the one I grabbed, the handle was broken. But that's okay. I can fix that. Now, for the ball and for the bingo pieces, I'm just going to put those aside because I'm not going to be using those right away. And I'm going to now take that center piece, and that kind of helps keep the bingo thing spinning. But I'm just going to break that off, and I just used a pair of pliers for that. And then I'm going to take a wood piece and just glue it down in the middle there. Then I'm taking everything outside. I'm going to spray paint it again with my flat black paint from Rust-Oleum. And that wood piece that's in the middle there, that's actually going to help keep the wood box that we're going to be putting in the center of this. That's going to help keep it upright. So for the paint, I did do 2 coats. And then while that was drying, I went inside and I took my block or my wood box here. And I'm just going to take my antiquing wax from Waverly, and I am just going to cover this in a light coat of the antiquing wax. I'm using my antiquing wax cloth here, if you will. It's just a bar cloth from Dollar Tree. They're sold in a package of 2. I love them. I can wash them and reuse them for all of my projects, and it's probably one of my favorite tools, honestly. Now for the antiquing wax, I'm just covering that up and just getting a good clean coat on all sides of that block. And then I'm also going to go down on the inside. I'm not going to completely cover the inside because you're going to hide that with some plants and some rocks anyway. So, whichever is your preference, definitely do it and let that dry. I also decided to go ahead and take a dowel rod and just snip off a little piece on the end. You'll see why I'm doing this in just a minute. I'm using my paint pen from Arteza. It is just an acrylic paint pen. It's kind of like working with a marker. They're actually amazing. And I am just going to cover that piece of wood with this acrylic marker and just set that aside to dry. And then once that's dry, it's time to start assembling our planter. I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue onto that base that we created with that Jenga block piece. And then I'm going to take my box and just stick it on top of there. Now I want the holder to look like it's holding the box. So remember that handle that broke off, I'm going to go ahead and just glue that back into place. It's not a functional handle, so it's going to be perfectly fine. And then for that other side where there is no kind of handle or anything like that, that is where I'm actually going to glue that little piece of the rod that I cut off, the wood dowel rod. Now I'm going to fill everything up with some Dollar Tree rocks, also add some succulents, and you've got the cutest industrial looking planter. It looks like it's made out of metal. I love the way that this looks. It's super, super versatile. You can use it for a lot of different decor schemes. Now, since I did have those bingo balls left over from that set, I decided to go ahead and use those on a project also. I'm going to take them and I'm actually going to paint them black, but I'm going to leave them on this grid because it's going to help paint. And then because I'm using chalk paint, I can easily go up and touch up anything that I need to. I'm just going to take my antiquing wax or my Waverly ink chalk paint, and I am just going to paint both sides of my orange balls. I'm going to do that on both of the grids. You end up using almost all of them for this project, so go ahead and just paint them all. I painted one side, then I took my heat gun to them, and then I painted the other side. I let everything dry, and then I literally just took a pair of scissors, cut them off, and put them in a small dish that I could go back to and grab after I was done doing the antiquing wax on this box. So this is where I'm using the antiquing wax again. And once again, it's Waverly's antiquing wax. I'm taking this and I'm just using my dirty cloth. And this one's actually a clean one though. And I am taking my antiquing wax and just covering all sides and part of the inside of this once again. If you like to have everything completely finished, then by all means, please do the inside of it. Make yourself happy. I am totally fine with kind of going the halfway down on the inside of this because it's going to be covered by a plant anyway. So for me, it doesn't bother me at all. Hopefully it doesn't bother you as well. And I am just going to completely cover this in antiquing wax. And then I'm going to take my heat gun, dry that a little bit, and then it is time to add those black balls. For those black balls, I'm just going to literally take a stripe of hot glue. I'm not going to quite do a full length of hot glue just yet. And then I'm going to take those balls and just quickly add those on as fast as I can. And I am just going to work my way all the way around. If you do these the right way, they will go all the way around pretty evenly for the most part. Anyway, around this, I'm getting a little excited here. So I go ahead and just do the whole side. And then I'm quickly adding the balls until I've got everything completely covered. And now I'm just going to take my antiquing or my Waverly ink chalk paint, and I'm just going to go over top of those balls again and just cover up any of those orange spots or any of those spots that are peeking through. You know, when you're painting plastic, especially with the chalk paint, they're going to come off. You got to expect some of that. Now I'm going to take my heat gun and just go right over them really well again, but not too well because it will end up melting your hot glue, and you don't want that to happen. And as you can see, it's a really cute little planter. I love the way that this looks. I might put a different plant in here because you can't really see any of the detail with those balls, but I think that's just kind of a really cool, subtle approach. And I love the way that this turned out once again. I think it's a good complement to everything I've done before. And for my next project, I'm going to be using this wooden block from Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. Also, I'm going to be using a package of these adhesive stickers. These are from Walmart in the rainbow colors. Also, I'm grabbing this treasure gold paint from Folk Art that I love so much. This is a kind of a muted matte gold, and I am going to take it and I'm going to use it on the wood block. What's great about this paint is that it adheres to actually a lot of different surfaces and gives you a really cool metallic look. For this block, I'm going to be going over all sides of the block, painting it gold. It looks like a golden nugget when I'm all done with it. And what's great about this is that it only took 2 coats of paint on each side. I did use my heat gun in between to help speed up the drying time, but other than that, it was super, super easy to use. For the actual stickers themselves, I'm going to be cutting off 6 rows because there's 6 sides of the block and there's actually 6 colors in the rainbow flag, and I am going to be doing just a miscellaneous pattern. Unfortunately, I don't have enough colors to completely cover all sides, but as you can see, it turned out really, really fun. It's just a cool kind of a knick-knacky thing that you can put on your dresser or on your coffee table, and again, it just adds some bling and some fun and some summertime and some pride to your decor. For my last project, we are going to be taking one of these glass jars. Now, I had one of them that broke, and so I saved the lid, and the lid, oddly enough, is the same exact size as the Dollar Tree vase. And then I also have a 2-pack of these stickers, and then I have some dirty fingers because I've been using chalk paint all morning. The other thing I'm going to do is take these pieces and I cut them down because they're actually a little easier to work with. I cut them into individual pieces. The really large ones that come with this set, I'm actually not going to use those on this particular project. I'll save them for another project at another time. So for these, they're a little tricky, you know, because they're curly and they're spinning around and they're doing everything that you don't want them to do, and they're sticking to my fingers and not to the glass. But once you kind of figure out the best way to get those off and to kind of, you know, go with the flow as far as the way that you're sticking them to the glass, it will actually work out nicely. And so I've added a couple on each side, and I'm just kind of working my way around until I've got everything covered. And then as you can see, when you add that base to it and a candle, it actually makes a really cute candle holder. And it's something that's just very, very simple to do, very easy. I think almost anybody could do this. I don't see why not. But I also took a red candle and put it in here, and I thought that this really elevated it. I thought that you could really see all of the detail. I love how this looks. I think if you did this with some sparkly, maybe some, you know, some bling, it could really be cool, and it could be absolutely beautiful for a Christmas candle even. Hey everybody, it's me again. If you enjoyed some of these projects, let me know which ones were your favorite in the comments below. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all under the Crafty DIY Guy. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye. Again, if you enjoyed these videos, and it will totally work. Literally, I think with almost